Hi guys, welcome back. Another IG Live. Today we're going to be talking about how to travel like a baller on a budget. Hi everybody, welcome back. Super excited for another IG Live. If you are here for the first time, my name is Janice Torres Rodriguez. I'm creator and host of the Quiero, Dinero podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how to travel like a baller on a budget, okay? I got time to be going broke to travel, okay? So we're going to be talking to Cinneah from Finance, and there she
Hello.
is. Hey girl, hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, but probably not as good as you.
Girl, like we talked about in your episode, it's like when you start claiming abundance, it just starts flowing and it won't stop flowing and the blessings just keep coming and coming and okay,
Great.
I'm receiving them. Okay, period.
Girl, you deserve all the blessings, okay? So
Thank
let's
you.
just put that out there, number one.
Thank you.
But why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes. Hey, everyone. This is Cinneah of Finance, where I love to show other people how to save for travel, build wealth, and live debt free. I was on a mission this year to pay off all of my debt, and I'm a few days shy of paying off over $23,000 of debt in 12 months. Y'all, I did not think it could be done. And I'm so excited to pursue FIRE, financial independence, retire early. Janice is one of my sisters, and Femmes on Fire in this community. And I'm so blessed, so thankful that so many of you have supported finance, have helped me get to this milestone. And yeah, we're celebrating today. We're celebrating just passive income. We're celebrating hitting that 10K. We're celebrating, I don't know, just like surviving 2020. Let's start there, honestly.
Yo, that is a whole fact, okay? This year is like the longest year and the shortest year at the same time. And I don't know how that's physically possible, but I'm ready. I'm ready for 2021. How about you?
Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, this has been such a transformative year for me. Not just in my personal finances, but just my mindset just a human being. I feel like I have pushed past fear and shown up for myself in ways that I just never have before in 2020. So I'm so excited, like you're saying, just to see what 2021 holds. And for me, it looks like a lot of traveling abroad and geographic arbitrage, which we'll get into. And yeah, I'm so happy and just full of life right now.
Yes.
Also,
So where are
hi
you
to your
joining us
puppy.
from?
Your puppy's back there.
Oh yeah, he's a show stealer for sure. Okay. So where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from New York City. I've been in the heart of New York City throughout the pandemic. So I'm joining you from Harlem.
And you just got back from what looked like an amazing trip to Mexico.
Yes.
So why don't we start there? Like, what drew you to Tulum? And like, you've been talking about that you flew there for $100. Please explain. I need to understand.
Yes. So honestly, I've been to the area. I've been to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico before. I'd been to Cancun as well as Riviera Maya. Last summer, I went for a couple of days, went to Chichen Itza, which for those who don't know, that's one of the ancient wonders of the world, was at one point one of the largest Mayan cities in civilization. And it was just kind of like, oh, yes, yeah, Tulum's down there, right? But I think since COVID, you know, with there being so many travel restrictions, a group of friends and I were just like, we should remote work from Tulum and just kind of like get a change of scenery. I don't know about you all, but anyone who's in New York City, I'm sure you felt that just like I started to get just like shell shocked, like cabin fever from being in the same four walls. Like, welcome to my home office, home gym, bedroom, creative studio, all of the things, right? So I felt like I just needed a change of pace. And in terms of, yes, you're absolutely right, Janice. I flew to Mexico round trip for New York City for $100. I talk about this on my page. But it's possible, right? With the power of travel hacking. I'm so excited to talk about that today because I feel like, wow, as women of color, there's this whole world, this whole language that I just don't think that many of us have been exposed to. And our peers are seriously saving so much money doing it, right? And in my little example, going from New York City to Mexico, by travel hacking and just using some of the benefits on cards that I already had in wallet. Hey girl, hey Sarah, I was able to fly for $100. So how did I do it? Right. One, it looked like consistently saving in a travel fund. I love to talk about travel funds, right? Because we talk about this on your podcast. I'm a recovering overspender. I was someone who would just spend all my money, right? I feel like we are kindred spirits. We are kindred spirits.
I'm telling you.
We are kindred spirits. I would just spend all of my money and just not know where it was, right? I was flex on the gram, right? When I talk about a year ago, even when I was in Mexico, I was flexing on the gram, but then it was like, oh, like I'm perpetually putting myself in debt, right? So having a travel fund, having that separate savings account that I was just using for travel helped me really understand that, wow, I can save. Like I'm not cursed, you know, like I am not cursed. I am able to save. And what I love about the travel fund that I have with Charles Schwab Bank is that I don't pay foreign transaction fees or ATM fees with the debit card that's attached to that account. So I know a lot of people use a lot of different places for travel funds. And I got to shout out my IG bestie, Jateria of Debt Free Travel Journey. She put me onto that account. And it's been a game changer for me because I don't even have to move that money around. I just automatically and consistently save in that account and then use the debit card that's attached for my travel expenditures. In terms of the flight, I use Delta Sky Miles. So I posted this hack. So if you're listening to this, you're just like, I want to go to Mexico. I have $100 in my wallet. If you're near the NYC area, or really, I looked at a bunch of major cities. I would say a lot of major cities, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago, LAX, we're all kind of showing this deal to Cancun. I don't know how it works, but the route is super cheap right now, y'all, for winter travel. But from New York City, whether you're in JFK or LaGuardia, you can fly nonstop from New York to Cancun for 550 Delta Sky Miles. When you do the math on that, that's about $84 one way. So that is super cheap, right? Literally, when I flew back from Mexico, we were on this huge 747, like this huge plane. I had the entire road to myself, right? I put this in my story. But if you want to know how to get that hack, like I posted it on my page. And then literally when you get to Cancun, if you want to go to Tulum, it's about 90 minutes away. So you have a couple options, right? You could rent a car. You could hire a private taxi. You could take a minivan if you know Spanish well enough and have pesos. But you could also take the auto bus. Actually, it picks up from the airport, from Cancun Airport at all the international terminals. And for literally $15, you can take an air-conditioned bus with outlets. Like it's super comfortable, super clean and safe and reliable to Tulum for $15. So that's what I did on the way back. It literally took, it took like 2 hours, but like I didn't care because I paid $15 for it, right? So yeah, I'm so excited to just keep sharing these hacks on finance because now that I'm in this world, I'm going to keep telling y'all all the ways that we can travel hack because I think it's so important, especially as people of color in our communities. I think we've been conditioned to be afraid of credit, but there's so many benefits, especially when it comes to travel and in the lifestyles that we're in and FIRE, reducing the amount of cash that we have to put towards travel that could be going towards our cash flowing investments, building our wealth. That's what I'm all about, you know?
It's major. Yeah. You know what's funny? I think about like the context in which I learned about travel. And for me, it was always a really normal part of my life, which I feel like is an anomaly because my father is a consultant. He's been doing that for like 30 something years. So he was always business traveling and then just taking us along as a perk because obviously, you know, when you're negotiating rates for business travel, you can definitely get like major deals out of that process. But my dad taught me to love traveling very early on. And he was like the original like travel hacker, even though I didn't even know what that was. Because back in the day, he would always talking about his American Express and the points and all this stuff. And I was just like, well, clearly that's only for people that travel out for work. But as I became an adult, then I realized, oh shit, wait, everybody can do this. You just
everybody can do this.
What credit cards to use, where to look for these deals. And I think a big thing too is also to be flexible in your travel, right? Because I don't travel during the summer because I know that's when everybody with kids that are off of school, that's when they're going somewhere. So I'm traveling like October through March and getting really good deals all year long. How about you? Are you strategic about like when you travel because of that?
I'm not as much. I actually find myself traveling a lot during the summer, just because, you know, Tulum was the first time I ever solo traveled, for real, for real. So a lot of the times I'm traveling with friends and other
Mm.
family, and just I feel like summer vacation is just when a lot of us can travel. But what
Yeah.
I've found out is, I'm definitely someone who I don't always love doing all the logistics of travel always,
Mm.
but I'm definitely someone, as soon as I get the idea, I set the flight alert. Like literally, I had tweeted like, nobody, me. I wonder how much a Airbnb in Kenya costs for next New Year's Eve. Like that's me. Like it's like as soon as the idea pops in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
setting that flight alert on my favorite sites, like Google Flights, like Skyscanner, like Hopper. So I think that that also enables me, even in some of these peak travel periods, to catch like those
Mm.
just like dips, like when the price just like falls and you just like you catch it, right? When
Yeah. Just
when
like
I
stocks.
literally just like stocks, right? Like flight prices are super volatile, and I think when you are prepared and able to take advantage of those things, right, by consistently saving for travel over the
Yeah.
year, you can really save a ton even in peak travel periods.
I love that. So where did your love for travel come from?
Yeah, my love for travel really came from my family. My mother really did her best to expose me to the world. So even as a little girl, I had a passport. I had a passport since I was like 5 or 6. My eldest sister got married, had a destination wedding in the Bahamas, and I think you needed a passport back then to get there. So that was my first time like traveling. But even as a very little girl, my mother would take me like on the plane. We went to California. We did things. And then, so I feel like through my family is kind of where I caught that bug. And I just like totally took it. I went crazy with it, right? So even, when I was in high school, like I was a people to people ambassador for anyone. I know a lot of us probably were in that program, but literally when I was a sophomore in high school, I went to Australia, New Zealand with people to people. Then when I was a junior in high school, I went to Israel through another youth program, right? So I was one of those, I feel like we talked a little bit about this on our episode, but I was
Mm-hmm.
one of those kids that was just like, oh, is there something for high achieving minority kids? I'm gonna
Mm.
sign up, you know?
Yeah.
And then that just exploded when I got to college, could study abroad. There were fellowships. I went to, Shanghai for free as a college student, studied abroad in South Africa, Brazil, and Vietnam. And then it was just like, I need this to be part of my lifestyle, right? Even back then, this was like in the early 2010s. I was like, wow, you can do this as a job, right? It was funny. There was a period in my life when I thought I wanted to be a foreign service officer because I love this idea
Girl,
of just
I
like,
was thinking the
are
same thing.
you?
For real.
I
I'm like, I
can't.
can't get paid to travel. Like, I just want to do that. Then I'm
Exactly.
like,
It's
I
like,
want them sending me to like, war zones and all that. I'm like, I'm kind of
yeah.
fragile.
Okay, wait. We had the same. That was literally me. It was just like, wait, I may have to go to places that like have tension and they
Yeah, I'm
don't
not trying
like
to go to
us. And
Baghdad right now.
yeah,
I'm
oh
good.
yeah, maybe not. So that didn't work out. And it's funny because I feel like this kind of like predated travel influencers. Like it really wasn't a thing. But I
Yeah.
remember learning about digital nomads. I put that in air quotes. And being like, that would be cool to be that. How do I
Right.
do that? I don't
Yeah.
know. But back then I feel like I was so focused on, no, I need to, and we talked a little bit about this, feeling like, no, there's just I need to build some wealth for myself. Like I need to get to a higher salary. I need to put those dreams off. And it's funny just how things happen because I ended up, in terms of my first full-time roles, working in consumer credit. I worked for American Express. So that's how I started learning about travel hacking. I didn't know a thing about travel hacking before I worked for Amex and literally, learned all of these things by being an employee. So, now kind of being on the other side of that and seeing like, oh, wow, this can be really beneficial. I'm just like, yeah, our communities need this information. So I'm so excited to keep sharing it.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the credit card hacking because I will
Okay.
tell you, I've tried to do it and I'm just bad with credit cards. Like I got a trigger finger when it comes to credit cards, so I've been
Yeah.
very careful. because then I'll just start swiping shit just to get the points. And then next thing you know, I'm $5,000 in debt. And then it's like, okay, this is not a vibe anymore.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? And like, what are some of your best tips for credit card hacking for travel purposes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the first tips, not really a tip, but it's a rule of thumb. You have to pay in full. So I'm so glad that you said that in terms of just being transparent that to the points that you're going to earn from these sign-on bonuses and other things when you open these credit cards is not worth carrying interest, period, right? It's not worth carrying 18 or more percent in interest. So paying on time is absolutely critical. So having a plan for how you actually are going to earn those points is so critical. So some ways, and I talk about this in my course, if for anyone who's listening who doesn't know, I just released a video course where I break down how I've been able to save for travel, how I've been able to go to 15 countries in the past 4 years. And a lot of times I didn't have money. So how I was kind of figuring it out and using these different tricks and hacks like travel hacking, like a travel fund, like the right sites to use to do that. So one of the things that you can do that I feel like a lot of people don't know is you can literally just take your everyday spend and put it onto that credit card. So for some of these cards where you need $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 in 3 months, you might think, whoa, that's a lot of money. But when you think about some of your largest expenses, it may not be, right? You may think about your rent or your mortgage. That's probably like the biggest expense, south of taxes that many of us have. So paying your rent or mortgage, an expense that you would already have, using your credit card has been a way that I've hit sign on, those spend minimums without spending any additional money.
So how do you do that? How do you pay your rent or mortgage?
So I actually, my landlord allows me to actually pay electronically using credit or debit. There's usually a fee, like a 2 or 3% fee. But like for me, if it's like, I'm going to get $1,000 worth of travel because these points are worth that much, then that's a good tip. But if you're someone who doesn't have that, you should look into Plastic, Plasiq. Plastic is pretty much lets you pay any bill with a credit card. Again, there's going to be a fee associated with it. But if we're talking about some of these cards, like if you get an offer, for example, like American Express Platinum card, 100,000 American Express membership rewards points is over $1,000 worth of travel, right? So if you're going to pay this little 2% fee on your rent, I feel like that's worth it to get $1,000 worth of travel, right? So if you were to take the example of how I went to Mexico and only spent 5,500 points, I could have transferred those points from Amex to Delta and had Sky Miles and took advantage of this hack, right? So I think that's another good way. Some of the other ways that I've talked about in the course are, think about the time that we're in now. If you were to open up a card now and maybe you're in a big family where, their children's still getting like lots of gifts or other, expenses that maybe someone in your family who would typically pay with their debit card or cash anyway, ask them to put your card down and they reimburse you. I literally did this with one of my sign-on bonuses. When I travel hacked my way to Antigua, right? I'd gone with a group trip. Everyone was talking about how the flight was $700. It was like everyone was getting on the same flight. So like the airline was just playing with the price. And I was just like, I refuse. I am not paying $700 to fly to Antigua. No way, no how. So what I ended up doing was opening up the Citi American Airlines Platinum Select card. My best friend and I did it. And to hit the minimum, I want to say it was maybe $3,000. I put my rent on it. And I got my oldest sister. She was paying like summer tuition or something. And I was just happy to be at her house. I was like, what do you need to pay? Like, what expense do you have right now that I can pay on my card? And she's like, oh, I think I need to pay her like summer tuition or something. And it was like $1,500 or something. Like she already had the cash. So by just getting creative, using ingenuity, right? Like,
that's
if you follow me
offline, make sure that you're charging something that you're going to get your money back.
Okay, period. That's important. That's important.
Right.
That's
you know what
important.
I did? I actually used a credit card to pay my taxes one year just so I could meet the sign-on bonus requirement. And it was like they charge you like a 2-3% fee. Yeah. And I met my minimum right then and there.
What site did you use? Because I just learned about
the IRS lets you do it.
The IRS lets you. Okay, so that's another hack, y'all. Especially for those of us who are small business owners, if you know that you're about to have a tax expense, why not open up a business rewards card that's going to give you points
And
And
take a trip
then,
to celebrate that big ass tax bill.
period. And then right off the travel, because if you take one business
Yes.
meeting while you're out there, it's a business trip, and that's on period. Okay.
I know
Shout out my
that's right.
CPA who is here.
Yes. Okay. Love it. All right. So I have a question about travel insurance. As someone who travels a lot, right? I get solicited by my travel agent all the time. Get travel insurance. I almost never buy it because I'm just like, is it really that serious? Like, I don't cancel trips unless there's something catastrophic, and knock on wood, nothing's ever happened that has required me to cancel a trip and lose out the money. But do you believe in travel insurance? Like, is that something that makes sense to you?
I'm so glad we're talking about this because hell yes, you need travel insurance anytime you're traveling, especially internationally. And here's why, right? Even before COVID, I always thought that you needed travel insurance, and I'll tell you why. I once went to Thailand, and it was the worst. Short of the time I got scammed in New Orleans, it was the worst trip I've ever been on because just like bad shit kept happening to me. So it's like my luggage got lost in Hong Kong. I lost my phone, just like things that are just like, that's such a major inconvenience. And I had no recourse because I didn't have travel insurance. That was the one trip I did not buy travel insurance for. And this is pre-COVID. Now that we're in COVID, I think it is so imperative, especially if you're traveling internationally, to get travel insurance because even aside from what could happen in terms of your health, there's just so much uncertainty when it comes to travel. And I just think that you always need to have a recourse in terms of having those protections. So some things that you can do, if you have a Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve card, you actually have built-in travel insurances that you can use that are pretty good. If you buy that travel using that card, it's already a travel rewards card. So that's something to keep in mind. I've also used Allianz, Allianz, Allianz Travel Insurance. They're a big national company. And what's great about Allianz is that you can get an individual plan if you're just going to one place. You can also get an annual plan. I actually had that in 2019. I had an annual plan that was going to cover me till May 2020. And then obviously I didn't do a lot of traveling in 2020.
Right.
So whatever.
Yeah.
I should probably call them and be like, I'm gonna get a refund. But some other thing that I've heard about is also World Nomads. I know a lot of travel influencers like Hey Sierra uses World Nomads, which is great because they cover your equipment. So if you think about, if you have an expensive camera, a lens, you're taking your laptop, you're making content on the go, you want to make sure that your equipment is covered if God forbid something happens. So I think travel insurance it's just so great to have that peace of mind because honestly, bad shit just can happen anytime. And yeah, I look back on that Thailand trip like, damn it, I just wish I had travel insurance. So I think it's absolutely critical. And then, especially on the medical side, if you think about, if you really did have a medical emergency abroad, a lot of our insurances would not cover the cost of your care when you're in another country. So even just having that retainer there, knowing that God forbid you need to go to the hospital, right? I literally met someone in Tulum who got hit on a motorbike and had to go to the hospital and get stitches. Literally had to get stitches along his whole side because he got hit on a motorbike, right? Things you just don't think about. So I think it's so critical. And then in addition to the things like we talked about, trip cancellation, if you were in a situation where maybe one leg of your flight got delayed and that it impacted your future travel, if you needed to stay in a hotel because of unforeseen things, I think it's great to have that coverage, and it's honestly not super expensive.
Yeah. It's all because I'm cheap, because I know I should buy it, but
it's really not so bad. I think my annual plan
really
was like maybe $250, and depending on the state that you live in, it might even be cheaper. I think I probably got taxed out the ass because I'm in New York.
Yeah. All right. So I want to know, because it can be very overwhelming, like trying to figure out what credit card to use if you really want to start accumulating points. What are some of your favorites and why?
Yeah. Oh, this is a great question because I'll be honest, I feel like this world is so crazy and big and huge, and you can be like me where you're like, yeah, I'm putting my feet in the water, or you can be fully deep into the stuff. I'm so excited because I have like the points guy, right? I'm so excited because I'm gonna be partnering with Angel, a Pennywise Traveler. We're gonna do a content series in a couple weeks, kind of talking about some of the ways that you can really take travel hacking to the next level with like stacking, right? But that's for another time.
He's a pro.
So Angel's a pro. Like, and meeting so many people like that is just like, wow, I'm so excited to learn more from you. So I would say in terms of starter, travel rewards cards, I talk about this in my course, which by the way, if you are loving what I'm talking about and you want to learn more in my course, use 10K. That's the coupon code. Use 10K. 10K. I got you. So I talk about this in the course. My recommendation is that you start with the Chase Sapphire family, probably starting with Chase Sapphire Preferred. The annual fee is pretty reasonable for like the benefits that you're getting, and then you're going to earn points on all your travel. You also earn points on Lyft, on dining. So I think it's a great way to get started without having to like say, oh, I'm going to like pay $550, right? So I think when you have Chase Sapphire Preferred, you have a couple options. You can either upgrade after that year and go to Chase Sapphire Reserve, where you're going to get a $300 travel credit. You're going to get priority pass lounge access. You're going to get all types of benefits if you really want to take it to that next level. Or what you could do, which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, is you could then go to American Express, either green or gold. I love the green card because, again, the annual fee is not too bad. American Express actually has the most airline partners out of any broad-based loyalty program. So I know a lot of people talk about Chase Ultimate Rewards, but actually Amex has more airline partners. It has more airline and hotel partners. So having Amex MR points and Chase Ultimate Rewards, having them together is super valuable. So I would say then probably go to green or gold. Gold is a $250 card. What's great about gold though is that like you're gonna get 4 times the points anytime you buy groceries or go to restaurants. Even with like ordering online, if you're in a big city like New York, I find myself ordering Uber Eats a lot because I'm just like, oh, it's quarantine, right? In addition to other benefits like $100 travel credit, etc. So I would say starting there. Then something that I feel like I'm just kind of starting to get more into is also having like a co-branded card. A co-branded card just essentially means it's another brand partnering with the bank. So it's like a Delta Amex card or like a Hyatt card, right? So I think also having another one of those cards and wallet is great, especially if you know where you want to go, right? So literally I was on a Google Meets with a bunch of travel hackers last night, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to Mexico. I'll be in the Yucatan Peninsula. And someone was like, hey, if you're in Merida, the Hyatt Regencies, which is a Category 1 Hyatt property, the rooms are only $5,000 a night. So if you got a Hyatt sign-on bonus of 50,000 points, you could stay there for 10 nights just with the sign-on bonus. And when you spend 10 nights or more at a Hyatt, you hit globalists, which is like their ultimate status, right? So literally, so by just doing the things we already talked about, putting your everyday spend onto this Hyatt card, staying for 10 nights in Mexico, because that's what I'm planning to do anyway, I could not only stay for free, but then have 2 years where I am an elite Hyatt member. So I get all types of points anytime I stay, all types of perks, anytime I stay with Hyatt. So I would definitely say start with Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve. Definitely check out Amex Gold or Green, and then think about where you're actually trying to go in terms of travel hacking. And then see, you know, based on the properties, does it make sense to open up a Marriott Bonvoy card, a Hilton Honors card, a Hyatt card, and just kind of having maybe multiple cards at once. I will say what I kind of just explained is kind of more, it's definitely more advanced. So if you're just kind of like, I just want to get started and kind of get my feet wet, start with Chase Sapphire Preferred or Amex Gold or Green. I think it's a great place to start.
That's awesome. I have the Sapphire Reserve, and I feel like I'm just not getting enough use out of it. But then again, I like have the hardest time tracking all the different offers. So that's like, it takes a little bit of work. So one thing that I found that definitely works for me, knowing that I travel back and forth between Florida and New Jersey a lot, I have a United card that is like $95 a year. I get the free baggage, priority boarding, and that pays for itself in like one trip with me and my husband. And because I'm a loyal United flyer, and like it just makes sense for me. Yeah. And then when it comes to hotels, I have the American Express from Hilton, because I love staying at Hilton hotels. Yeah. And you get automatic silver status just by having the card. There's no annual fee, and you get, you know, you get like 7 points for every dollar that you spend on the property. So I'm like, yeah, that shit works for me. I already know like where I want to spend my money. So for me, it was easy to pick the co-branded stuff. But for somebody that is still trying to figure out like where their loyalty lies when it comes to these big companies, I love your advice of just starting out with like a universal travel card.
Yeah.
And then, adding to your portfolio as you refine your taste as a traveler.
Definitely. Yeah. And I would say the only thing to keep in mind and why I kind of suggest going with broad-based first is that banks will start to kind of see that you're opening up if you decide to keep pursuing this route, there are rules that banks use to kind of keep gaming at bay. So when you're opening up a ton of cards and just getting the points and not really kind of keeping the card, you're considered a gamer in the eye of these credit card banks. So to kind of circumvent that, banks have rules. One of the most famous ones is Chase, the 524 rule, is that Chase will automatically deny, no matter how excellent your credit is, if you've opened up 5 or more cards in the last 24 months. So that's why I say, if you're new to this, start with Chase, because it's a great solid card. You're going to get a ton of points that are super valuable. And then you won't be penalized down the road if you were to, like, for example, Chase Sapphire Preferred just had 80,000 points as a sign-on bonus. If you were someone who had applied for a bunch of cards, maybe at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, you probably missed out on that because you probably had too many inquiries on your credit report. So, just kind of keeping those things in mind is also helpful. That's why I kind of say starting with like Chase and Amex is a good idea, because then you don't have to be in the.
Okay. So at the bottom, I know there's a ton of information coming through this IG Live. Okay. I think you're back. Yes. Okay. So I want to know what some of your best traveling on the budget tools are. Like the sites that you go to, the apps that you download. Okay. Tell me where I should be concentrating my energy as a travel deal hunter.
Oh, okay. So I'll say if you're a deal hunter, definitely Google Flights. You can never go wrong with Google Flights. And what I talk about in my course is that, there are a ton of great sites out here for finding cheap flights, but they're all not made the same, right? You take on a lot of risk when you buy cheap flights and you don't buy directly with the airline. I'll say that again. You take on a lot of risk when you buy cheap flights and you do not buy them directly from the airline. So in my course, I talk about a lot of the very popular cheap travel sites, right? Air Affordable, where you can pay in installments. Hopper, where you can like look at predictions and buy through the app. I never buy flights through those sites, right? Because I always want to buy my airline tickets with the airline directly. I've been burnt many times where I thought I was getting a good deal, even on a code share. A code share just pretty much means two airlines are advertising the same. The flight really just resides with one airline. I was burned when I thought I was going to Morocco at the beginning of 2020. The flight got super cheap to Morocco. It was like under $500. I was like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get it with American Airlines. That's the American Airlines card. I got burnt because the ticket never got ticketed. If I had just booked directly with Royal Air Maroc, the ticket would have been fine. Obviously, it ended up being for the better because you see what happened in 2020. But I always say that you've got to be careful when you're kind of looking on some of these flights. I know people love Momondo. I use Momondo more so just kind of check Google Flights. But Google Flights, I would say, is the best thing you can do if you're a deal hunter. What's great about Google Flights is you can literally just search any destination. If you have an origin and you have a general ballpark of how much you want to pay, you can literally use their world map to just see all of the places where you could get a flight for that price from your origin, which is awesome. And Google Flights always will take you to the airline directly. If you're someone like me who also just likes to passively see deals, I love Scotch Cheap Flights. So if anyone is like, what is that? Scotch Cheap Flight is an email membership where you can have a free subscription or a premium. But the premium, I will say, is definitely worth it. $49 for all of the amazing deals. It's incredible. I know he's like, something is back there. Something is back there. He's trying to get Scotch Cheese Flights. I actually just got an amazing deal on Scotch Cheese Flight to Las Vegas, where I'm going to see my girl just sent, who I saw her posting below. to Las Vegas from Newark, nonstop for $77. Scotch Cheap Flights. And what's great about Scotch Cheap Flights is that he's linking you to Google Flights. So I'm getting the benefits that I just told you about, but I don't always have to search. And what's great about Scotch Cheap Flights is that you can determine based on what airlines you're comfortable traveling from, whether you're in the New York City area and you're like, if it's a great deal, I'll go to Philadelphia, Newark,
right, and they're
wherever.
in like
You'll get those deals
Missouri,
personalized to your email. So it won't be a thing where like Secret Flying or Airfare Watchdog, you're like, that's an amazing deal. Oh, it's from like Toledo, and I'm not in Toledo, you know?
How much does he charge for that?
Right, exactly. So I love Scotch Cheap Flights because you just get so many premium deals passively to your email, and then you can just take advantage of them right through Google Flights. And it's like $49 a year for premium, which I think more than pays for itself, right? Like I just told you, I got a $77 flight round trip nonstop from Newark to Las Vegas on United. And I feel like that is already probably worth the money that I've saved by just paying $49. So again, if you have the course, if you go on the resource guide and click the link, you can actually get a free trial to start Scotch Cheap Flights just to see what you like. If you don't like it, no obligation, but I feel like you'll like it because you'll see all these amazing deals and just be like, this is worth it. And then in terms of like stays, I love booking.com. I feel like not enough people talk about booking.com. Why I love booking.com is if you're using your travel fund, which is in your budget, and then plan for it, which is what I'm all about. It's like, if you can spontaneously travel, do that. But a lot of us can't. So we got to plan for it using our travel fund and other means. And then, of course, Airbnb, you know, a lot of us know about Airbnbs, but also hostels. I've stayed in a couple hostels. They're not as horrible as you think, especially if you're someone that is going to be, you know, spending most of your time in the place anyway. Like, then, you know, consider that. So, but yeah, booking.com definitely for accommodations is great.
Awesome. I actually use a service called nextvacay.com, and they charge $25 a year. And you set up like where you're based out of. So I get flight offers from Tampa, Orlando, even Miami. And they literally send you like emails with destinations and when the window to book is to get this specific price. So like, I think one of the best deals I got was a nonstop flight from Newark to Paris for like $375 round trip.
Yes. Okay.
You can't say no to deals like that.
Yes. Nextvacay.com. Okay. I love it. Yeah, that's worth it. $25 for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it pays for itself. And again, it's like, I don't have a ton of time to be doing this research. So if there's somebody out there that's doing that, just let me know when to book and how much it's going to be. And you make my life way easier when it comes to planning out my vacations.
Exactly. No, that's great. Okay, I'm going to have to look into that.
Okay, so let's talk about your favorite travel experience so far in life.
That's so hard. When I saw you had this question, I was like, I don't know. Let's see. Top three. Okay, definitely the top three is Tokyo. I caught an amazing flight deal with my friend using Kayak, another site that I like to use for flight deals. We flew from JFK to Tokyo. And it was great. We only spent a week out there, but it was great. We went to Tokyo. We went to Kyoto. We took the bullet train. We ate so much good food. We stayed in an onsen, which is like a hot springs for like $40 a night or something crazy like that. And it was so great. It was everything I expected Japan to be, if not more. And I would definitely go back. Literally, it was so good. It was so great. That's definitely a top three for sure. Spending my birthday in Cartagena was definitely a top three. Colombia is a place I would go back for sure. I don't know. Y'all might see me in 2021 being like, yeah, I'm in Medellin, just living my best life.
Girl, me and you both. My husband's Colombian, and I'm like, we need to go. He's never been, so it's on the list. We were supposed to go this year, but you know.
Okay, wait, let me know when you go. Wait, let me know when you go. Let's link up there.
I will.
Because Cartagena is lit, y'all. And what's great about Colombia is you can fly nonstop on JetBlue. Literally, travel hacking. I travel hacked my way to Cartagena and used Amex MR points, transferred them to JetBlue, and got the flight for, I think, like maybe 15,000 miles all the way to South America. Um, so,
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm trying to think what's probably the third one. I don't know. I've had a lot
What
of
about
really
like the
good.
solo travel you just did? Because I think that scares the shit out of a lot of people.
Ah,
I will tell you, I'm not brave enough to do solo travel yet
yes, you are.
because no, you know what it is. I feel like I, we're so ingrained as women to just like think everybody's trying to kill us all the time
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like the thought of being somewhere in some foreign place, I'm just like, I know I'm gonna get murdered. Like that's just not gonna happen according to the news, right? But it's
That's
not
fair.
realistic.
No, 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 that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, I think that's my biggest fear.
That's so funny because I was the same way. I was so afraid. All my best friends had solo traveled in like amazing places, like just hopped on the plane and went to Spain, Uruguay, Rome, and I'm just like, I'm the one that's always talking about travel, and I never solo traveled. But kind of in Tulum, I feel like I eased into it, right? So I had gone with a group of like 8 or 10 people, and by the end of the trip, I felt like I wasn't ready to go. I felt like my spirit was like, it's time. It's time for you to take this leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
And what's great about Tulum is that it's a small beach town. So I felt like even being there for that week, I was also the primary driver of the group.
Mm.
I feel like I got my bearings, right? We stayed in La Valletta, but like we spent a lot of time in the center, in Centro. We would drive to the beach for like dinner if we wanted to go to the beach or whatever, beach clubs. So I felt like I was getting my bearings really well. And then with it being COVID, there were no change fees on the flight that I only paid $50 and 5,000 miles for. So I was like, let me just change this flight, right? I was remote working the entire time. My job didn't even know that I was in Mexico.
They do now.
Are they watching this?
I don't know.
Anyway, but so when I kind of felt like I was just like, oh, I feel like I can do this because I felt like I have bearings. I have a conversational knowledge of Spanish. I felt like I knew the area more or less. And what's great about Tulum is there is such a vibrant Black traveler, Black expat community that I felt like I wasn't totally alone, so to speak. Like even walking down the streets, the center streets, I would always see other Black women traveler, you know, like Black American travelers. So I think that kind of gave me some confidence too. And then finding an online community. I was in the Black in Tulum Facebook group, and people were always posting like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm about to be there next weekend. You know, we should link, we should connect. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence too. And I actually connected with a lot of solo travelers through that group. We'd meet for dinner, we'd go to bars, we'd hang out. So I wasn't totally alone, even though I was definitely solo traveling. I was figuring it out, but I felt like I had enough guardrails. I'd made enough connections, even with like the photographer that I had met down there, that like I kind of felt like, okay, if something does happen, I feel like I have people that I could reach out to. But it was great. I think definitely easing into solo travel was what was right for me.
I love that. Okay, so if anybody follows your content already, they know that you also talk about building wealth and financial independence. And for a lot of people in the fire space, geo arbitrage and like moving around in the world and living different places is a major part of the plan because Lord knows the United States is not where it's at when it comes to things like health insurance and an affordable cost of living and a society that doesn't feel really fucking oppressive, right? So that being said, are you thinking about geo arbitrage for your own fire journey? And like, what does that look like?
I am. I definitely am. So, since being in Tulum for solo travel, I've made the decision that I'm going back in February for at least 3 months. What I'm manifesting is that I will spend most of 2021 abroad. And for anyone who doesn't know, because I feel like we just kind of said geo arbitrage and maybe everyone doesn't know what that is. It is essentially earning a stronger currency like US dollars and spending and living in a country with a weaker currency like Mexican pesos, Indonesian, you know. So if you live in Canada, Europe, the US, Great Britain, pretty much anywhere else around the world, you're going to take advantage of geo arbitrage. And in Mexico, like the US dollar it's like 18 or 20 to 1, depending on like where you're at. So I could definitely save a ton of money. And it was something I was already thinking about, right? Like I want to get aggressive about fire. I know that I want to hit consistently saving my yearly saving rate to be at least 50%. How am I going to do that in New York when like, yeah, like you're right. I'm not going to have this huge debt payment every month, but like Is that really 50% or more of my income? I don't know. But if I move to Mexico and then also split costs with like my partner or with other friends, I'll save a shit ton of money, right? So, so Geo Arbitrage is definitely part of my plan. There's so many places that I want to see in Mexico, even beyond Tulum. Mexico City has been calling my name, following people like Rashida D, Shaddad, yes, Jateria, Jeffrey Travel Journey. That's my IG bestie. I want to be in Merida. I want to go to Oaxaca. I want to see the pyramids of Teotihuacan. I want to go to Cabo. You know, there's so many places. And for me, it was kind of like, the situation in the United States is so up in the air. And like, what if I can't travel? Like, I don't know if I can like handle that for another year of not being able to travel. If I put myself in a position where I'm now based in another country, even though I'm not necessarily pursuing residency, right? I'll still be in a tourist visa. I'll have more flexibility to be able to travel within the country and just see other small towns, right? Like I was on a live with the Exodus Summit, Black women who are living sabbaticals, living abroad, and they talked about Campeche and Guadalajara, right? Other towns in Mexico that I'm just like, it would be great to see those places, you know? So Geo Arbitrage is definitely part of my plan. I actually kind of accelerated that plan because at first I felt like Geo Arbitrage was something that was like further off, like 3 or 4 years from now. But now I'm just like, what the hell am I waiting for? 2020 taught me that like life is so precious. It's so short. This is something that's been on my spirit. I'm going to take that leap of faith. And now that I'm really kind of pushing myself to do more travel hacking, I'm excited to save even more money because it's like, if I can stay in Hyatt's or Hilton's and not have to spend a ton of money, why not, you know? So yeah, it definitely fits into my plan in terms of giving me that freedom to travel without it being a financial burden, so that the bulk of my income can still go towards building wealth, building tax optimized wealth, and helping me grow that passive income, that income that's going to serve for me in early retirement. What about you? Do you kind of see it, especially with like you and your husband?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about this all the time. And I think 2020 has definitely been a conversation around like, why are we waiting? Right. I think that's why a lot of people are having those conversations. So there's no guarantee about what is actually, what life is going to throw at you. So for us, it looks like living in the Caribbean. We're doing some research into different visa opportunities. We are honing in on Curacao. We've been there 3 different times, once on our honeymoon, and they have this entrepreneurial visa that if you have a certain net worth and you're committing to invest a certain amount of money in either creating a business or real estate on the island, after like 3 to 5 years, they give you permanent Dutch residency. And so I'm like, you know what? Curacao ticks off a lot of boxes for me. First, it's below the hurricane belt, so we don't got to worry about that. Standard of living is really high. It's a colony, or if you will, of the Netherlands. So you have that connection to the EU and all of those benefits that are afforded to citizens of the European Union. They speak English. The food is delicious. It's a beautiful place. So that's probably where we're going to end up.
I love that. Okay, I love that. I'm going to Curacao for like a family vacation in April. So now I'll be peeping the scene. Like, can I live here?
It's bomb. I really like. I love it. If not there, we're gonna end up in Panama, because then again, another really low cost of living place, a place that has the U.S. dollar is tied into their currency, so their economy is propped up by that. Speak Spanish and English. Super dirt cheap cost of living, good quality of life, beautiful beaches, beautiful people, food. So yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome. No, yeah, I'm excited. I'm just honestly excited to do the social experiment for everyone and be like, okay, this is how much I was paying to live in New York. This is how much it's costing me to live in Mexico. Like, how quickly have I accelerated, right? Like, my stretch goal for 2021 is definitely hit a 6-figure net worth. So I feel like Geo Arbitrage is like my golden ticket to do that. I already see that question, like, what does someone do if they don't have a job that's flexible enough? I feel like for me, I definitely have the privilege that right now, at least, like, my job is fully remote. And, you know, I think being in the space with women like you, I feel encouraged that like what I want to manifest will happen, right? That like I will renegotiate my terms and or finance will grow to be able to sustain me, that I don't have to be location dependent because this job is back here, right? So that's kind of what I'm putting out there. Definitely what I would love to see other women of color take advantage of, especially if you don't have many financial obligations here. You don't have a family that you have to think about yet. Why not take advantage of these things, right? And again, like what I kind of said before when we started, is that our peers have been doing this. They've been taking advantage of geo arbitrage. They've been building massive amounts of wealth for their families, for their communities, by living abroad. Why not us? Why not now? So I'm glad that we're kind of putting that out there for people as an option.
I love that. And job doesn't let you travel, and you want to do geo arbitrage, girl, get another job. Like, honestly,
period.
That's
what I was gonna say.
That you have to design your life in a way that's going to allow you to pursue all the shit that you want to do. So when I decided what job I was going to take after my last career change, I was like, I'm going to work for an employer that already has work from home built into the culture. I'm going to work somewhere where I'm not required to show up at the office unless there's some kind of godforsaken emergency. I want to work for somebody that has offices all over the world, so that if I want to move across the world or across the country, I have that already baked into my career opportunities. And that's exactly what I did. I started in New Jersey, transferred to Florida. If I want to work in Singapore, I can do that. I want to work in South America, I can do that. If I want to work from my damn house, I can do that. So like, don't be having these loyalty to these jobs, because guess what? 2020 showed you these bitches ain't loyal. So why are you?
Period. And I'm so glad that you say this, because, you know, we talked about this in the podcast episode that we recorded together. I wouldn't even be here in terms of my debt-free journey if I didn't leave my last job, right?
Talk about it.
And when I left my last job, people were like, really? Like, COVID had just started. Like, it was like, de Blasio was like, shut it down. And I was like, hey guys, I'm leaving Amex. And for me, it was like you're saying, I had to think holistically and bigger picture about the life that I wanted. And it was a life of debt freedom. And I knew that this job, my former job, I had built up a lot of equity. I had a lot of strong relationships, people up the chain who knew the value of my work. But I knew that I wasn't going to make any more money in 2020. And I wasn't going to accept that for me. I wasn't going to accept that for myself. And just even putting it out there, manifesting it, an offer came that increased my income by 30%, and I'm going to get a bonus in 2021, which you already know. Where is that going? Into my tax advantage account, period.
That's
okay.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I totally agree with that advice. And so many things that you talk about on your page is start that side hustle. Now is such a great time to build that foundation, make it a real business, create that LLC, so that you also have something that's you're building that you have control over. That what I love that you always talk about is that, especially as women of color, that we can intercept this racial wealth gap, this ability to create the lives that we want by taking the reins and creating our own means of production. So I love that. I mean, we all live in capitalism, so why not benefit from it, honestly?
Listen, nobody's getting rich doing the W-2 thing for the rest of their lives. I'm just going to say it. Sorry to burst your bubble, guys, but all the advice you've been getting about get a good job and retire at 65, that shit don't exist no more. Okay? No. So, I could be on here forever, I'm telling you.
Literally, it was like, oh, I love this.
So for people that want to find out more about you, work with you, get your course, follow your travel journey, where can we find you?
Yes, follow me on Flynance at fly.nanced. Like I said, until midnight, I'm running a flash sale to celebrate hitting 10,000 followers on Instagram. I cannot believe how much this community has grown. I'm so appreciative. I'm doing a flash sale on my course where you're going to see more of these things like this. Like, if you enjoyed kind of seeing me talk about the ways that I've saved for travel, that I've seen 15 countries in 4 years, definitely get the course, use code 10K. To get money off, and yeah, just stay tuned. There's so much more coming from me in terms of finance. I really feel like I'm living in my purpose. I'm finding a vocation that I feel like is aligned with my spirit, with my passion. So it's only up from here. Okay, I'm so excited to keep bringing y'all these stuff, these
what you've accomplished. Show it.
Thank you.
And I think this year for a lot of people has been one of a lot of adversity, but it's also been one of a lot of growth. And for you, I feel like 2021 is like, this is the rocket launch right here. I can't wait. I cannot wait to continue to follow what you're doing. I hope
Thank
that you
you.
guys enjoyed this conversation. I hope that, this combo inspires you to really like own your life, man. This
Yes.
year has really
Oof.
taught us the
Oof.
power of just remembering what's important, remembering why you work so damn hard, remembering why, like, what the point of all this is. Like, start living in your purpose, y'all. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.